Hi everyone, thank you very much for stopping by and returning to the old world. Today has been the World Championships preview show from Games Workshop. As part of that, they've announced what's coming for the Empire of Man. What was particularly poor timing, in that about 20 minutes before they started talking about the Empire, my video on predicting what might be in the Arcane Journal dropped. And as you'll see, I've not really got an awful lot right. But without any further ado, let's have a look at what's coming. So first of all, obviously, there's an Arcane Journal. And it's going to include 2 armies of infamy and a couple of special characters. So far, so accurate. One of these is going to be a knightly Order of the Empire, and one of the special characters we're going to get is the Grand Master of the Knights Panther. In fact, as part of the preview show, they also said there's going to be different rules for different orders. I think this is really interesting. I was pretty close. That I predicted some kind of knightly order or Imperial bodyguard army, some kind of leader of those 4, some kind of Grand Master. I think this is really good. It counters nicely the idea of the Heralds of Darkness force that we see from the Warriors of Chaos, and leans into a very, very different way of playing the Empire. I think this is a great, great start. For our second army of infamy, what do we get? It's the city-state of Nuln. And this is disappointing. As I explained in my video on predictions, I wasn't really hoping for a city-state of Nuln list, because the grand army composition, the way it plays, the way it seems to operate best is as a gun line. Having Nuln basically takes the gun line and, as a theory, drives harder into that style. Other armies of infamy we've seen have really played with the way that a force operates. So the Orcs and Goblins, for example, you've got the Troll Horde, and then you've got the Nomadic War. Really, really different ways of playing, and very different from the sort of core way you see the Grand Army composition being played. The other special character is looking like it's going to be some kind of General of the Empire. It's a named general. So I'd imagine this is a character that has his roots in the city-states of Nuln. So far, about 50-50 on the predictions. Let's move on now to what's going to be in the Battalion box set. And here we're seeing 61 miniatures split between 30 state troops, 30 state missile troops, and a steam tank. Now that's really interesting. So the other boxes we've seen tend to have included a bunch of core stuff and 2 special models, such as a pair of gyrocopters, a pair of Orc war chariots, etc. This is different in the form that we're seeing a single rare choice in the form of the steam tank. Is it usable? Absolutely. I'm starting to think it might be a little bit of a crutch unit, but it gives you something that can hold up a flank, hold up a centre, really be a nuisance, hard to kill, and giving you mobile artillery is always, always a useful thing. What about the infantry? Actually, I think this isn't a bad box when it comes to the core choices. But, I hear you cry, it's got state troops in it. Half of the models are state troops, and they're rubbish. You've said they're rubbish loads of times, and you'd be absolutely right. I think state troops and veteran state troops are not very effective. They don't do a job. They don't hold stuff up. They don't get kills. They just give away points. So why am I happy to see them in the box? And that's because of the other part of the box, which is the missile state troops. Yes, they're not the cheapest. Yes, they're not the best missile troops, but you can get them in abundance into your army. And assuming that the models come with the option of being crossbowmen or handgunners, that means you've got enough missile weapons to equip all 60 models as missile state troops, giving you a really powerful gun line, leaning into that null thing if that's what you want to do, or simply picking out of the Grand Army composition. It does seem an effective way of playing them, and this box set, if you want to go down that route, means all of the models will be usable in your army. And that is absolutely a really good thing, and not something I think we see consistently across the Battalion box sets. The Orc one comes to mind, for example, where actually I don't think in an Orc and Goblin force I'd really use Orc boys, and I certainly wouldn't use common goblins. Overall, though, as I say, I think this is a really good box set, and I'm really pleased to see it. Will I pick one up? Probably not. That's purely because I don't need the models anymore. I've gone down a different route in order to get a force onto the table. But for budding Empire players, I think this is a really credible starting point. Let's look at some of the other models that we're told are going to come out. Let's start with the commanders of the Empire. So we've got the classic captain/general on horseback. We've got a commanders on foot, and we've got the Imperial Griffin model with a warrior on top of it. So that pretty much fills out a lot of your needs there. We know that we're going to see state troops coming. We know that missile state troops are coming because they're going to be in the Battalion box set. But we're also going to get plastic flagellants. They're a fun thing. They offer a bit of visual variation to the ordered, disciplined ranks of the professional infantry of the Empire, but they do have a tendency to fall over very quickly. They're not tough enough. They don't have the armor save. They don't have the initiative bonuses. I can't really see them doing a job. I've tried them. They've not worked. So it's not something I'm going to be particularly moving into. Then we've got plastic great swords, plate armor, big choppy weapons definitely have a place of interest. I'd be really interested to see how these play into perhaps the Knightly Orders army of infamy. There might be some way of getting a bit more out of them, but as a special choice they are generally competing with other stuff that you really want to use, like cannon. So good to see them returning. They give you a bit of variety in mixture infantry. I don't think they're a go-to if you're looking to play the game competitively. We've also got coming, and this is a lot of plastic models, we're seeing the Archer kit, the Hunter's kit. These are fine. I think Archers definitely have a place. The Vanguard moving, the ability to scout, the skirmish line, it's all good stuff and things that will be useful, I think, for a lot of players. Got the Militia, which is a bit of a fan favourite from back in the day, the old Mordheim models, for those of you with really long memories. The artillery sets, everybody needs artillery, don't they, for an Empire army. The Great Cannon and the Mortar. Mortar, I don't think really packs enough punch to warrant its cost of 90 odd points, but you can't go far wrong without a battery of Great Cannon. Finally, we've got the Hellblaster volley gun and the missile launcher. Now, the Hellblaster volley gun is absolutely a go-to choice when it comes to the Empire. I've got one of the old metal ones, and those of you who have seen pictures will know that it was a difficult build. It's not looking great. So will I pick up a second volley gun? Well, if I want to move away from my steam tank crutch, maybe a second volley gun is on the cards. Let's now look at some of the other models, and these are coming thick and fast. It's time to look at the plastic cavalry, and we've got the return of the Knights box set. So this obviously is going to be really important if you want to go down the Knightly Order route. I have to admit, I always found these models a little bit dull. It looks like we might have some more interesting heads floating around than just the old Reiksguard style. But knights, yeah, I think are going to be appearing in a lot of people's lists. Then we've got the Pistolier / Outrider box set. Pistoliers with the impulsive rule are somewhat problematic. I don't think they're reliable enough to fill their role as that skirmish line, as getting in, being annoying, stuff like that. However, I've got to say I've got a lot of love for the Outriders. They can really dish out the damage, and I've seen them have some great success. So I think this is a unit that's perhaps being slept on a little bit. I don't see them in a lot of Empire lists, but 15 shots at Ballistic Skill 4, potentially a champion with Ballistic Skill 5, is nothing to be sneezed at. We've also got returning the Demig Griffs. I never really liked these models, but they are one of the mainstays of a number of Empire lists. So those people who aren't going down there all shooting all the time are definitely leaning into Demig Griff Knights, giving a bit of staying power and a bit of ongoing combat crunch. So expect to see a few of these guys floating around if you ever come across an Empire army on the field. Interestingly, the War Altar is making a reappearance. This was always a bit of an interesting thing and might actually help our warrior priests and arch-electors become a bit more of a viable option. I've been quite disappointed with how warrior priests have played in the old world. In 8th edition, they were very much a go-to unit, really helping buff units, knights particularly. So also seeing an arch-elector on a Pope-mobile, really something that was interesting back in 8. So I'm hoping they make it worthwhile, because if you're having warrior priests in your army and they're useful, then it changes again the way that you can play with the forces of the Empire. And finally, we've of course got the steam tank, which we've seen coming in the Battalion box set. Let's now look at some of the Forge World miniatures. These are the resin jobs. So we've got a remastered War Wagon. So again, this is a prediction I got horribly wrong about 20 minutes before we received the news of what was coming. I thought this model just wouldn't fit. The rules would be too complicated. But hey, it is coming, although only on a made-to-order basis. We're also seeing some command forces on foot, BSB, some kind of captain figure, and what looks like a flagellant character, so perhaps something to use as a unit champion. In metal, we're getting a classic BSB, we're getting a witch hunter, and we are also going to pick up some warrior priests, both of Sigmar and Ulrich, along with a trio of engineers on foot. Depending on what they do with the War Altar, that I think for me will depend whether warrior priests make the cut or not going forward. At the moment, I don't think they do. And the Witch Hunter, it's a really great image. It's what sets the Empire apart. Unfortunately, I just don't think these models really get the right rules to make them effective on the tabletop. The engineers, however, are a completely different matter. One of the really strong character choices available to the Empire. For 45 points, they provide an excellent buff to your war machines, and the Empire really loves its war machines. So there we have the big news when it comes to what's coming in 2025 for the Empire of Man. Some of my predictions, it turns out, were reasonable. Some of them absolutely miles off the mark. Overall, what do I think of the news as a package? I think it's a good spread of models. I'll be interested to see what the new units that we've never seen before that were announced as part of the preview show are. And I really like the Battalion box. I think it's a really good, solid choice. So it looks like we're going to make a strong start to 2025 when these models all start to come out of the door. But tell me, what do you think of the latest news? Are you excited for it? Do you think that Games Workshop have missed a trick? Do let me know down in the comments below. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, please do consider dropping a like or subscribe. It's a great way of helping a small channel such as this one, and helps the algorithm know that you might want to watch some more of the content. Once more, thank you very much for listening. I am returned to the old world. Have a great day.